Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Today is explanation of upcoming episode Throne of Seal based on novel. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. So let's start. I can still not confirm that he was actually not looking for Haoyue. Hearing Long Haochen say these words, his companion's expressions became grotesque. Chen Yinga asked with a curious smile, "Don't you agree that we should expect a lot from Haoyue, then? If as a magical beast even the demon god emperor would look personally for, what kind of level could he possibly reach in the future?" He. Wang Yuan nodded, declaring, "It's a pity, but if Haoyue really had been what he was looking for, I'm afraid he wouldn't have managed to escape the demon god emperor's mental probing. So I reckon that it's not the case." Long Haochen didn't tell them about the changes that happened with his own body, because this was Haoyue's secret. Rapidly, they arrived back at their living quarters. The instant after they pushed the door open, the others didn't have any reaction, but Long Haochen and Caia were immediately shaken, unconsciously taking a few steps back, and not entering directly. It wasn't because they detected any changes in the living quarters at all, but because they felt a sudden chill from their subconscious mind, as if the living quarters, before their eyes had turned into an abyss that could engulf everything. The others' reactions weren't slow, and with Long Haochen and Kia's sudden alerts, they stepped back, entering their battle formation. "Enter, all of you." Xingyu's downcast voice rang out from inside, letting Long Haochen loosen his breath. As it turned out, this uncorporeal sense of danger was coming from his great-grandfather. Only, why did he suddenly come to their living quarters? With some hesitation, everyone walked up in a line. Long Haochen's look immediately fell on Haoyue, who was sleeping in a corner. As before, Haoyue was lying there as if nothing happened, still deep asleep. Inside of the living quarters were two people, Xingyu, and another middle-aged man in his 30s. At that moment, that middle-aged man was standing at Haoyue's side, looking at him and revealing a faint smile. But the most astonishing was that Xingyu bent down at his side, extremely respectful, "Great-grandfather." Seeing Xingyu, Long Haochen hurried to give his salutations. The others who followed him also paid respects to this head of the assassin temple. Xingyu waved his hand to them, hinting them to wait a moment. That middle-aged man slowly turned around, directly looking at Long Haochen. Confronting him, the first thing Long Haochen noticed was his pair of boundless eyes. That's right, the impression this middle-aged man's eyes gave could only be described as boundless. They were of a dark blue color, giving the same kind of boundless feeling as the vast sea. This middle-aged man's appearance didn't stand out at all, and was even kind of ordinary. But he merely stood there, treating the master of the assassin temple, the heroic assassin of the ninth step Xingyu, as if he was a mere attendant. And more importantly, this middle-aged man didn't emit any particularly imposing aura, looking just like an ordinary adult. This odd scene made the 7 youths from the first Demon Hunt squad feel dull, in particular Long Haochen and Kia, who had better perceptions. Long Haochen was startled, and Kia wrinkled her brows. She was blind, but even with her other senses, she was completely unable to grasp this man. Just like the wind or the light, he gave off a kind of pure feeling. "Hello, young people from the first soldier grade squad." As this middle-aged man only said a few things, the expressions of Long Haochen's group of 7 immediately changed. It was because they had heard this voice before. It was precisely the aged voice of the demon god Slayer Knight, clad in an orange armor. For a moment, Long Haochen's group of 7 was completely stupefied. No matter what, they just couldn't think of any reason why this great character would come to their living quarters. The middle-aged man revealed a faint smile. "Didn't expect me to come. Actually, this time, it was for 2 reasons that I came. The first one was the demon god emperor's move, and you are the second one." Everyone felt fuzzy-headed. This legendary and almighty hero came for them. Long Haochen couldn't help but ask, "Senior, so you are?" The middle-aged man revealed a smile. "Let me introduce myself. My name is Chen Zidian, leader of the Demon God Slayer's Demon Hunt Squad, and Guardian Knight." The name Chen Zidian felt unfamiliar to Long Haochen's group, but the words Demon God Slayers added to Demon Hunt Squad caused Long Haochen's group of 7 to open their eyes wide. Those 6 almighty characters that appeared just now were actually a Demon Hunt Squad. Although they had known for a long time now that the Demon Hunt Squads were of extreme importance to the Alliance, they didn't really know that a Demon Hunt Squad could actually reach such a terrifying level. The Demon God Slayers. This was clearly the title of a special demon hunt squad, one only given to the highest-ranked titled demon hunt squads. And naturally only a demon hunt squad of such high grade could actually make the demon god emperor feel some apprehension. This was how glorious, how strong they were. Because at that time, those almighty legends confronted the demon god emperor, whose power was enough to totally discourage everyone unconsciously, their eyes momentarily glinted brilliantly. So as it turns out, demon hunt squads can display such power. Seeing the changes in these children's expression, Chen Zidian declared, 312 years ago, before the demon god slayer's birth, we were just like you, possessing the title of first soldier grade squad. I can still remember it clearly. At that time, I was 17 years old, as I became the captain of the first demon hunt squad. And since then, a very long time passed. Today, I am 329 years old, and can already not be called young anymore. But I am not willing to be buried before taking care of my responsibilities. Chen Ziding's look fell on Long Haochen. Yes, senior. Long Haochen bowed respectfully. Chen Zidian nodded and said, at that time, your father was a good candidate. But unfortunately, he had some flaws in his disposition. He was excessively dogmatic, and didn't have enough foresight, putting all his energy in improving his own capability. Even though his strength was formidable enough, he couldn't be called an outstanding team leader. Within the first demon hunt squad, few would speak of their own families. Only Kia and Hanyu knew of Long Haochen's background, but at the same time they didn't really know about their other teammates' backgrounds. Still even, among the two of them, only Kia was knowledgeable about Long Haochen's past, whereas Hanyu only knew some bits of it. At this moment, hearing an almighty hero like Chen Zidian mention the strength of Long Haochen's father, describing him as formidable enough, every other member of the first demon hunt squad was impressed. In fact, since Long Haochen was only a little more than 10 years old, how old could his father be? For him to have been called formidable by this almighty elder, perhaps he was a powerhouse of the ninth step. And as for the powerhouses of the ninth step of the Night Temple, at this point, Chen Zidian almost seemed to be in an excited mood. Children, you now have boundless opportunities. But the process of growing up is essential, and during this process, you will only be able to rely on yourselves. Only by relying on your own efforts will you obtain real strength. I wish that one day, you will be able to inherit the title of Demon God Slayers, take over our position, and even do better than us. Haochen, is it your magical beast companion that the Demon God Emperor searched for? Chen Zidian's look shifted to the other side, in the direction of the deeply sleeping Hao Yue. Long Haochen didn't dare hide it, unfolding the situation. It is highly possible, but I don't dare to be sure of it. Chen Zidian's eyes flashed. I also reckon it as highly possible. From my investigation, you completed a blood contract with him at the time you went to the Knights Saint Mountain. Since this is the case, until you two are powerful enough, don't let him appear in places where the Demon God Emperor could learn of his existence. He just managed to conceal himself from the Demon God Emperor, so he should be able to keep doing so in the future. Humans need a hero like the Scion of Samsara of that time. I came today to encourage you, but also to tell you about a story behind the scenes. Since 600 years ago, we humans spared no efforts to develop, trying to contend against the demon powerhouses. But even now, we are still unable to genuinely contend against the demons. The main reason for this are the 72 demon gods. It is precisely because of their strength that we have no choice but to rely on our natural barriers to resist them. And this is only under the premise that the 6 of us are keeping the Demon God Emperor in check. In case we die, if the Demon God Emperor directly comes to attack us humans, the natural defenses will not be of use anymore. Since 300 years ago, we have already killed 39 demon gods, one after another. Among them, the highest ranked was the 4th demon god. But some new ones filled the gaps without any delay, and even now, they still have 72 demon gods. And do you know why this count doesn't go down? Long Haochen's group had learned about these matters before, and Hanyu, who had a good understanding of the situation, blurted out almost unconsciously, it is because of the demon god pillars. Chen Zidian nodded in response, correct, it is precisely because of the demon god pillars. To the demon race, demon gods' pillars are divine artifacts. The 72 demon gods possess 72 of these divine artifacts. As long as the demon god pillars exist, even if a demon god dies, their lineage can still be carried on as before. Thus, there is only one way to truly kill the demon gods, which is to destroy their demon god pillars at the same time they are killed. Long Houchen asked, Senior, since demon god pillars are the demon god's divine artifacts, what level does a piece of equipment need to reach to destroy it? Does it need to be another divine artifact? Chen Zidian shook his head and replied, the 72 divine god pillars are collectively known as demonic divine artifacts. Their ranking is the same as that of the demon gods, so differences of power exist between them. And even to destroy the weakest demon god pillar, you will need at the very least a piece of epic tier equipment. As a result, the road you have to walk is still long. Otherwise, we could have already destroyed some of the demon god pillars. And there is another thing I have to warn you about. If one day, your cultivation level reaches the 9th step, and you go to get a Divine Throne's acknowledgement, you have to act carefully, following the Divine Throne's directions. Because when I had gotten the approval of 4 of the Divine Thrones, I still insisted on striving for the eternal Divine Throne. I ended up empty-handed and will never ever be able to acquire a Divine Throne. Your talent is a lot greater than mine at your age, but no matter what, you cannot act as persistently as I did. The help any of the Divine Thrones will bring you is, after all, bound to be incomparable. Yes. Thank you, Senior. Chen Zidian took a deep breath, his gaze growing distant, as he declared in disappointment and frustration, the 72 demon god pillars are the demon's vital source of power. For each one they lose, the demon's strength will decrease as a whole, and the heritage they obtain as well. I am afraid this is something we are unable to do anymore, but I hope that during your life, you will be able to destroy a few demon god pillars. The Sign of Light, and the Saint Daughter of Samsara's joint appearance gave humanity a chance for counterattack in the end. I look forward to the day you will succeed. Senior. Long Houchen suddenly called out. Chen Zidian gave him a warm look. Long Houchen declared, Senior, if one day we can really become a titled demon hunt squad, will we be able to choose a name for ourselves? Houchen. At the side, Xingyu couldn't help but shout at him. What kind of honor did the demon god slayers hold for the whole of humanity? And he actually declined such an honor being passed to him. Everyone in the first demon hunt squad also felt stunned. Chen Zidian waved his hands to Xingyu, then, which title would you wish for your demon hunt squad to possess in the future? Do your best then, children. Maybe I won't see that day, but even in the afterlife, I will pray for the bright rays of sunlight to surpass the demon god slayers. Bathed in gusts of golden light, Chen Zidian's silhouette disappeared soundlessly, just as if it turned completely into light. Without anyone instructing them, the 7 of them kneeled down on the ground, paying respects to where he disappeared. Seeing this scene, Xingyu felt completely gratified and full of pride for these children. He didn't say anything else, simply stepping out, and also disappearing into emptiness. Some time later, the 7 youths forming the first soldier-grade demon hunt squad got up. Long Houchen turned around, looking at his companions. Senior Chen is right, we are companions, and should not conceal our backgrounds from each other. I am Long Houchen, have an innate spiritual energy of 97 and the physique of the Sign of Light. My father is the owner of the Divine Throne of Doom and Slaughter of the Night Temple, Divine Knight of Adjudication Long Xingyu. He still didn't know that due to the light elemental fairy, his innate internal spiritual energy had risen to 99. Even though at that time, everyone already guessed who Long Houchen's father was, hearing about his innate spiritual energy of 97 left Wang Yuanyuan, Lin Xin, Sima Xian and Chen Ying are shocked. Han Yu and Cai already knew of this secret, and their reactions weren't as exaggerated as the others. An innate spiritual energy of 97, physique of the Sign of Light. It's no wonder that he already has such accomplishments at such a young age, that he could directly make the light elemental fairy evolve, and that he is so kind-hearted. Just at that time, while everyone was still completely astonished, Cai muttered at Long Houchen's side, my whole name is Xing Cai, heroic senior Xingyu is my great-grandfather. My innate internal spiritual energy is 93, but after acquiring the spiritual stove of samsara, it rose to 100. Except from Long Houchen, none of the other 5 knew of this secret. An innate internal spiritual energy of 97 already left them shocked to the extreme, but with this sign of samsara's inheritance, everyone couldn't help but tremble for a moment. Sign of Light, Saint Daughter of Samsara. Just now, Chen Zidian mentioned these terms. And the other 5 finally understood why Chen Zidian would choose their first soldier-grade demon hunt squad, and had such high expectations for them. 2 kinds of talents so rare that they never appeared for 2,000 years, had now unexpectedly emerged at the same time, and were part of their team. Although these legendary heroes were formidable, speaking in terms of innate talent, they would probably be poles apart from these 2. The physique of the Scion of Light was something completely new and had never appeared ever before. And the Scion of Samsara, from the legends, took the demon god emperor down by himself. Even though at that time, the demon god emperor was already in a rather weak state, it was still a demon god emperor. For these 2 to have joined the same demon hunt squad, one could imagine its future development. After no less than a few minutes, Han Yu finally reacted, taking a deep breath. My grandfather is the Saint Knight Chief of the Temple Alliance, Han Qian. My innate internal spiritual energy was 63, but after I accomplished a retainer contract with Master, I enjoyed the innate talent sharing's effects, boosting my innate internal spiritual energy up to 80, barely reaching the level of the physique blessed by the heavens. Something like that can be done. At the side, Sima Xian immediately leapt up, suddenly dashing to Long Haochen's side and grabbing his hand. Boss, Captain, do you accept other retainers' knights? Make me one please. My innate internal spiritual energy is 69. So unfair, it's only a single level apart from 70. Long Haochen revealed a bitter smile. Let's wait for everyone to introduce themselves first. There should be no problem about it. But, Master, you already have 2 retainers. With one more, I'm afraid that, Han Yu hurried to his side. It wasn't that he wanted to reject Sima Xian, but the most important thing was to consider Long Haochen's condition. Long Haochen shook his head. No problem. I don't plan on exercising control over you, and furthermore, my innate mental capacity is high. There should be no problem if I took one more retainer. Hearing him say so, Han Yu stayed silent. Long Haochen was after all the Scion of Light, so his circumstances couldn't be compared with ordinary people's. Sima Xian's excitement immediately went up. Becoming someone else's retainer wasn't anything glorious, but the master's identity was an important factor. After all this time, everyone had an even better understanding of Long Haochen's temperament. He was after all able to draw the light elemental fairy to him with his merciful heart alone. She profited from it, let alone his own companions. Seeing Han Yu's unperturbed appearance was proof for that. Lin Shan felt gloomy as he said, why do I not possess the light attribute as well? With the existence of such a great thing as the innate talent sharing, it would be great. My grandfather is the auxiliary chief of the Mage Alliance, Saint Mage Tutor and Mage Regiment Captain Lin Chen. But he doesn't really like me that much. I am pretty much the opposite of Sima Xian. He cannot learn healing magic, while I cannot use offensive magic. But in the fields of alchemy and spiritual energy cultivation, my innate talent is pretty good. With an innate internal spiritual energy of 74, if not for the fact that I cannot use offensive magic, I'd say that Big Bro is also a genius. But well, let's only say that Big Bro has drugs, it's already just as badass. Wang Yuan declared, should be my turn. I don't have drugs, but I have my strength. I am the one who inherited the gigantic divine soul shield, and my bloodline is among the most powerful of the warrior temple. My great-grandfather used to be a berserker warrior of the 9th step, before dying at the hands of the demons. My grandfather was the previous head of the warrior temple, also at the 9th step, but he also died, at the hands of the 5th demon god. And my father died together with my great-grandfather on the battlefield. In our family, I am the only successor left. Chen Yinga replied, somewhat helpless, my innate internal energy is rather odd. I am unable to use the numerous other kinds of summoning spells. My grandfather said that I was born with the innate talent of the body of chaos. My current situation is unusual, because the body of chaos comes with important indeterminacy. Before I reach the 7th step, any summoning spell will be a great challenge for me to learn. But if I grow to the 7th step, cultivating the mysteries of chaos, I will instantly become able to use every summoning spell accessible to my step. After Chen Yinga finished introducing herself, Wang Yuan revealed a bitter smile. I believe that if we can survive until the day we get that title, we won't be called a team of misfits anymore. On the next morning, the 10 newly formed Demon Hunt Squad's leaders issued an order for all the members of the newly formed Demon Hunt Squads to pack up for traveling. preparing their return to Holy City. Their return, scheduled for the time after the 3 months of tests, was shifted to an earlier date because of the Great Demon Army's retreat. As a whole, those tests were successful, and the 10 newly formed demon hunt squads came back completely intact. They contributed well to the Exorcist Mountain Pass, and obtained ample approval from the Exorcist Mountain Pass military, as well as the Assassin Temple. But their time as youths couldn't be wasted. Without an actual gain, they naturally wouldn't stay there for so long. The end of this time's tests also signified the start of those 10 newly formed demon hunt squads' real journey. Their most ultimate goal were the demon god slayers, who appeared on the continent 300 years ago. Xing Lingxin and Lan Yenyu personally sent the 10 newly formed demon hunt squads off. Looking at the girl standing next to Long Haochen, Lan Yenyu's eyes were already moist. Due to the aftereffects of her husband's use of the spiritual stove of return to childhood, their relationship with their daughter finally improved with great difficulty. But having to part with each other once again, as her mother, one could imagine her current pain. Xing Lingxin also stood there, looking at their daughter with warm feelings, slightly pursing his lips. He already recovered all his memories, and the ones of his daughter coming to visit him a few times had left a particularly deep impression on him. The other members of the first soldier grade demon hunt squad already followed Jiao Yingjie to get on the carriage, so only Long Haochen and Kia remained. Uncle Xing, Aunt Lan, take care of yourselves. Long Haochen respectfully bowed before Xing Lingxin and Lan Yenyu, not with a knight salute, but with the bow of someone of the younger generation. Facing this youth who previously staked his life with him, Xing Lingxin crossed the distance with large strides, opened up his arms, and gave him a big hug. Haochen, thank you. These few words were full of emotions. Xing Lingxin was very clear about the reason for these changes that happened with their daughter. If not for his help, their daughter wouldn't possibly have opened up like that. Despite the fact that their time of contact was short, Long Haochen had already conquered Xing Lingxin with his actions. Could they possibly be fussy, when they had this kind-hearted and forgiving youth and owner of the physique of the Sign of Light as their daughter's partner? Yes, they were still young, but so what? Xing Lingxin firmly believed that no matter when, Long Haochen would strive to do his best and spare no efforts to protect their daughter. Lan Yenyu followed Xing Lingxin. At the time she hugged Long Haochen, Lan Yenyu's wistful gaze fell on Caia. With a shivering voice, choking with emotions, she asked tentatively, Caia, Mommy. Can Mommy hug you? Caia's face remained as blank as before, but with his sharp senses, Long Haochen saw clearly that her body shivered slightly. She was clearly not as undisturbed as she pretended to be. Yeah. Kia gave her a detached reply. Immediately, Lan Yenyu's tears were flowing down. Taking a step forward, she suddenly threw herself at her daughter, crying loudly and bitterly. It was also at that time that Kia felt as if something shattered in her heart, as she finally broke the chains that had been restricting her for so long. An indescribable energy burst forth from deep inside her, and on her forehead, a vague flash of black symbols appeared. Under Long Haochen's and Xing Lingxin's attentive watch, the bamboo cane in Kia's hand fell to the ground. Incorporeal grey streams of air suddenly burst out from her body, and her two dull and emotionless eyes suddenly took on a deep black color, as if countless rays of dark light illuminated them. Somewhat sluggish, Kia loosened her mother's one-sided embrace. Slowly raising her hands, she herself took the initiative to lightly hug her mother. Her originally pure black world was gradually dyed in various colors. Though this process was slow, each color became more and more distinct in her eyes. That's right. Just at the split second Kia accepted her mother's embrace, the last chains that had been restricting her spiritual stove of samsara finally broke, and she ultimately obtained the real power of the spiritual stove of samsara. At this very moment, Kia had recovered her eyesight. From this moment onwards, she was no longer just a blind girl, but the real saint daughter of samsara, who already overcame the loss of her 5 senses. The nearby images were distinct, and as Kia was embracing her mother, she could see everything surrounding her. She looked at him and at her father. And the expression in Kia's eyes became foolish. After the last traces of her former coldness disappeared, her eyes finally became moist. Mother, father. 10 days later, Holy City. General Assembly of the Alliance. The 61 members of the 10 newly formed demon hunt squads stood in front of their respective seats. Compared to the time they left Holy City, clear changes could be detected on them. Including their time on the road, 3 months had already passed since the team selection. After those 3 months, their faces had already lost all childishness and gained an unswerving determination acquired through many hardships. Yesterday evening, they reached Holy City. And this morning, they were immediately called to this assembly. The completion of their 3 months of tests implied that the demon hunt selection competition had finally come to a complete end. Today would be their last gathering. The next day, they were going to part ways, starting their own individual journeys with their respective demon hunt squads. The 10 demon hunt squad leaders entered in a line from the main door of the assembly and were followed by the symbolic leaders of the 6 great temples. They were the chief knight of the Night Temple, Han Qian, the heroic Grand Chief of the Assassin Temple, Ying Suifeng, the Grand Berserker head of the Warrior Temple, Ren Wuquang, the Auxiliary Hall Master of the Priest Temple and head of the Sacrificial Hall, Ruo Shui, the head of the Mage Regiment, Lin Chen, from the Mage Temple, as well as the Grand Spiritual Master from the Spiritual Temple, San Shui. At this time, these 6 auxiliary heads of the 6 great temples all had benevolent expressions while taking their seats in succession. Except for Jiao Yingjie, the other 9 leaders sat in a row at their back. Jiao Yingjie stepped on the stage in the front, and after the 6 auxiliary hall masters took their seats, he stood straight, performing a knight salute. This was the sign for the official beginning of this conference. Han Qian nodded to him. Jiao Yingjie declared in a deep voice, leader of the 1st Soldier Grade Demon Hunt Squad, reporting. The 10 newly formed Demon Hunt Squads performed satisfactorily during their test. They gained the approval of the Exorcist Mountain Pass military, and received a rather good evaluation. All members of the newly formed Demon Hunt Squads performed outstandingly well, and completed this test brilliantly. Han Qian nodded to him, thanks for your trouble, the 10 of you. Please return. Jiao Yingjie clenched his fist before his chest, returning to the 2nd row after completing another knight salute. Han Qian rose and stepped on the stage. After shortly glancing at the 42 discouraged Demon Hunt Squad's members, Han Qian continued, the results of the final top 3 were extremely close to your scores. And although the rewards for the team contest are not negligible, they are no more than a drop in the ocean compared to everything you will gain in the future. At the 3rd rank is the 2nd Demon Hunt Squad, with a total amount of 2,115 contribution points. They receive a reward of 300 contribution points per person. Hearing Han Qian's announcement, Yang Wenjiao's pupils immediately shrank, unconsciously clenching his fists tightly. Lost. I lost once again. And this time, I only got the 3rd position. His look fell unconsciously on Long Haochen at his side, thinking to himself secretly, how is that possible? They missed roughly 50 days of missions. At this very moment, the most nervous ones were the members of the 1st and the 4th Demon Hunt Squads. As their captains, Long Haochen and Luke 11 couldn't help but straighten up. 2nd position, 4th Demon Hunt Squad with a total amount of 2,158 contribution points. They receive a reward of 500 contribution points per person. As he said so, the majority of the Demon Hunt Squads could only nod in approval. Although Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi, who didn't express dissatisfaction, also lost, they were in a different position. Compared to the 4th Demon Hunt Squad that almost ended up as champions, they naturally at least wished to see the 1st Soldier Grade Demon Hunt Squad led by Long Haochen, from the same Night Temple as them, obtain this honor. After all, Long Haochen was also the one who won the final victory in the individual competition. My second question is about Long Haochen's retainer knight. Senior Saint Knight Chief, according to the rules of the Alliance, retainer knights cannot contribute to the team's total amount of contribution points. But contribution points can be passed to each other through the contribution tiles. How can the Alliance guarantee that Long Haochen's retainer knight didn't pass all his contribution points over to Long Haochen? Even if he only handed Long Haochen 2 contribution points, it would have influenced the final results of the team contest. Reaching this last point, Luke 11 clearly felt quite agitated. The difference of awarded contribution points between the 1st and the 2nd place was after all over 3,000. To say nothing of the even more important glory that the final victor received. At this time, even Li Xin, whose relationship with Long Haochen was the best, couldn't pacify Luke 11. It was because Luke Xi's speech was done out of consideration for the whole team, and not only out of selfishness. Gao Ingjie had originally been resigned to die at the hands of the enemy, but at the time the demons were about to strike the final blow, another formidable demon hunt squad came to his rescue. They had gotten the news, and ultimately saved him as he was on the verge of dying. Afterwards, Gao Ingjie blamed himself a lot for the death of Xiaoshue's parents. After spending 3 long years of rehabilitation to recuperate, he never again joined any other demon hunt squad. But because he did not spare anything and even had the resolve to sacrifice his own life in order to save his companions, gaining common acknowledgement. He was also considered as having great odds to become a pure gold foundation knight in the future. Thus, even the 6 auxiliary hall masters held him in great esteem. Gao Ingjie turned back, looking at Luke 11, and declared in the same deep voice, "I will first address your first question. The fact the first soldier grade demon hunt squad obtained over 2,000 contribution points is equally linked to strength as to luck. Long Haochen formally received the order from the military chief of the Exorcist Mountain Pass, Xinglingxin, to participate in an important military operation outside of the city by himself. Relying on the eyes of truth released by his mount, he saved the brilliant Angel Knight Regiment from the danger of annihilation. At the same occasion, he saved Commander Xinglingxin, who had just made use of the spiritual stove of return to childhood. For these 2 matters, he should have been rewarded a great amount of contribution points, but because the other leaders and I hadn't been informed of this mission, it could finally just be accounted as a great achievement. Without receiving extra rewards for his heroism, he only gained the contribution points associated with the enemies he killed on the battlefield. Next, during the joint mission involving your 10 newly formed demon hunt squads, you should remember Long Haochen's and Kia's last attack. At that time, I'm afraid you didn't see clearly what kind of enemy they were facing. As the commander of this mission, Long Haochen led every one of the first demon hunt squad to confront the following opponents: 4 dark green dual-bladed demons, as well as 6 eight-eyed demonic eye soldiers. Relying on the strength of their team, they wiped them out on their own. But in the carriage guarded by these middle-ranked demons, there was something unexpected. After destroying the carriage's guards, a bloodthirsty beater of the 7th step, belonging to the Maxilius clan, appeared. It was the true guardian of the light elemental fairy you saw afterwards. With the support of their companions, the Captain Long Haochen and Sub-Captain Kia, who made use of their most extraordinary abilities, managed to finally slay this bloodthirsty beater of the 7th step. But they also ended up gravely wounded. Coming next was an awarding ceremony, during which, except from Han Yu, every one of the first soldier grade demon hunt squad gained a total of 1,000 contribution points. But afterwards, without need for Long Haochen to say anything, everyone took the initiative to give 142 of these contribution points to Han Yu, following the same rule of equal division as before. So far the contribution points reaped by the first soldier grade demon hunt squad had already reached an amount of 8,520, which was extremely close to the threshold of the 10,000. One must know that during their journey, Chen Yinga relied on her outstanding innate talent as the owner of the body of chaos, and finally broke through to the 5th step. By now, the only things the first demon hunt squad lacked to boost their grade were contribution points. Holy City covered an enormous space wherein the demon hunt squad's mission tower occupied an important area. The vicinity was surrounded by a lot of greenery. It was a special and secluded place. Even the leading characters of the Alliance wouldn't find it easy to enter, if they weren't affiliated with it. This was the home of the demon hunt squads. Other sorts of things. Long Haochen continued, as for the second path, it would be to accept a new mission, making use of the contribution points we already earned to increase our strength. With this option, we could try to make a profit by completing missions, without being too impatient to rise to the general grade. Gao Ingjie nodded his head. Very good. Your thinking is quite profound. Which of these paths would you be prone to choose? Long Haochen replied with a smile, this will depend on the last directions you'd give us. What I would like to know is this: if we advanced to general grade demon hunt squad, what advantages would we gain? Hearing this question, Gao Ingjie immediately laughed. I didn't expect that the little youngster you are has such a crafty side. But still, your question is very appropriate. Telling you about it should not be a violation of the rules. After Gao Ingjie's explanation, everyone only nodded their heads. Now they had some idea about their possibilities. But listening to the last point Gao Ingjie talked about, the 7 members of the first soldier-graded demon hunt squad were instantly lit like magical stones. What was the thing the first soldier-graded demon hunt squad lacked the most? First of all, it was secret skills. Simazyan had just broken through to the 5th step, and although usual skills could be learned at the priest temple of Holy City, the 5th step, for a priest, included a few important secret offensive skills. If he could learn them, his strength would increase tremendously. At the same time, after the first graded demon hunt squad obtained the soul linking chains, a piece of equipment at the epic tier, their deficiency of healing abilities became even more evident, and they would need Henyu to make up for it. Although as a whole, their team was lacking equipment, their shortage of secret skills was even more important. If they could compensate on this area, they would be able to temporarily ignore the deficiency of their equipment. This was the first benefit their soul linking chains brought them. Long Houchen originally preferred the second path. Investing 8,000 contribution points to increase his companion's strength, and then completing missions without sparing any effort sounded to be a good choice. But hearing Gao Ingjia's talk, they obviously made up their mind. After a simple discussion, the first soldier-graded demon hunt squad came to the consensus to first raise the grade of their demon hunt squad. As for the privilege of learning 6 secret skills, Long Houchen considered the situation as a whole. In the end he decided to give Simazyan 3 of them, so as to boost his force, 2 to Han Yu, and 1 to Wang Yuan. Long Houchen, Kia, Lin Xin and Chen Yinga were not in real need for secret skills at the moment. In another white villa, Long Houchen saw Luke 11 and Li Xin. The fact Long Houchen went to them first was also greatly related to Li Xin's presence. Seeing Long Houchen come to see them, Luke 11 and Li Xin were surprised. After learning Long Houchen's purpose for coming, Luke 11 sank into deep contemplation, and Li Xin called the other members of their team. 500 contribution points were at the present time no small number for these demon hunt squads of soldier grade. Therefore, this request was not something their vice-captain could take the initiative to decide about. Captain Long, according to our team's decision, we will lend you these contribution points. Luke 11 said with a smile. Long Houchen was pleased, and hurried to declare, I want to thank everyone from the 4th Demon Hunt Squad on behalf of the 1st Demon Hunt Squad. Please rest at ease. As long as we can make it back alive from the missions, we will definitely return you twice this amount of contribution points together with our thanks. 3 days later, on the 2nd floor of the Demon Hunt Squad's mission tower. In terms of size, this floor was as wide as the 1st floor of the Demon Hunt Squad's mission tower, and the design almost identical. It was a 300 square meters wide hall, surrounded by 6 lofty square counters, which stood for each of the 6 different kinds of missions. They were organized according to the following order: extermination missions, searching missions, exploring missions, intelligence missions, war missions and mixed missions. This was the Demon Hunt Squad's mission tower, and thus, almost all the missions were directed against demons. Only a few special missions, forming a small minority, were unrelated to the demons. Relying on their newly acquired general grade tile, composed of 5% mithril, Long Houchen and his teammates headed to the 2nd floor of the mission tower. This place looked completely the same as the 1st floor, with exactly the same layout. But just the day before, after they had raised their rank to the general grade, they had immediately hurried to the transaction center on the 2nd floor, where they had only stayed for 10 minutes before leaving in total shock. As a matter of fact, to Long Houchen's group, the amount of contribution points required to buy this pill was astronomical. A single one cost a total of 10,000 contribution points, and its price would be a lot higher if not for the fact its use couldn't be repeated. Seeing this pill, Lin Xin's eyes immediately turned blue. This self-trained genius in the field of alchemy had seen the recipe of this Holy Spirit pill in the past. He remembered vaguely that one of the materials required to make this pill came from a magical beast of the 8th step. But that recipe, he had seen long ago, was in a shattered state. If the 7 of them wanted to take 1 Holy Spirit pill per person, they would need an amount of 70,000 contribution points. And this was after omitting the innumerable incomparable pieces of equipment they were faced with. At the core of this Demon Hunt Squad transaction center, money didn't have any value, and even the vendor stalls set up by other Demon Hunt Squads would only accept contribution points as currency. Let's disperse and search for a mission that would be suited to us, everyone. We can also aim for a little higher level of difficulty, since we are going to do this mission jointly with the 4th Soldier Grade Demon Hunt Squad. Long Houchen's group only possessed a total of 20 contribution points, which meant that they could only examine 2 missions. Long Houchen pulled Kia's little hand, heading to the mission counter in front of them to examine the corresponding magical crystal board. Kia didn't hold her bamboo cane anymore. The fact the trials of the spiritual stove of samsara had been completed also implied that she had obtained the real power of this spiritual stove. Although she still had to temporarily lose a sense, she could choose it herself. For instance, she currently chose to renounce her sense of smell. As Long Houchen was looking assiduously at the mission list, Kia occasionally sneaked a glance at him. Ever since she recovered her eyesight, she couldn't help but occasionally stare at him. It was just as if no matter how long she watched him, it would still not be enough. He had already changed a lot since the time they were children. From a child, he had become a youth, but he was not any less handsome than before. Induced by the increase of his cultivation, his handsome face was filled with holy aura and looked even more attractive. It had such a lure that this pure aura seemed to have a purifying effect. That was the sign of light. Long Houchen was suddenly surprised, awaking Kia from her reverie. She immediately followed his look. With a single glance, Kia immediately discovered what inspired Long Houchen's surprise. The missions demon hunt squads of general grade could take were indeed different. Below the general grade, the overwhelming majority of soldier grade missions were rewarded with an amount between 1,000 and 3,000 contribution points. Their reward was limited to the extent that some were even only rewarded with a few hundreds of points. But at the general grade, no missions were rewarded less than 3,000 contribution points. Among the numerous assignments, Long Houchen seemed to have noticed a particularly richly rewarded one, with the name Exploring the Desolate Whistling Cavern. This mission was rewarded with 20,000 contribution points, and its degree of danger was unknown. Long Houchen nodded in response, replying, "Okay, then let's look at this mission's details." Arriving in front of the counter, they handed over the fee of 10 contribution points to examine it. Quickly this mission's complete information appeared before the first demon hunt squad of soldier grade. The Desolate Whistling Cavern is located in the center of the demon territory. Its exploration requires to penetrate a total of 1,150 kilometers deep into the demon territory, passing through 4 demon provinces. According to our intelligence, hissing sounds will occasionally be heard from the Desolate Whistling Cavern, but reportedly, a sudden geological change occurred there a few months ago, and has very likely exposed some rare gems. Wang Yuan remarked, "This mission is going to be very hard, but we can be sure that as long as we manage to complete it, the benefits should be quite significant to us." A moment ago, I saw another mission with a reward of 20,000 contribution points. It's on the side of the extermination missions. How about comparing them? Actually, Long Houchen's group didn't notice it, because of their excitement due to coming to the second floor of the Demon Hunt Squad's mission center for the first time, but their thirst for contribution points was really excessive. Quickly, their 10 remaining contribution points were used to inspect this slaughter mission. The goal of this mission was to kill 10 middle-ranked demons of the 7th step. Without need to look at its name, they decided to renounce it. At that time, it was because of their extreme luck that they managed to kill the bloodthirsty beater. And this had only been possible because Hao Yue's sneak attack succeeded, greatly reducing the bloodthirsty beater's strength. But luck couldn't stay on their side forever, to say nothing that this time it would be a count of 10 demons. With their current strength, choosing this mission would only be akin to throwing away their lives, and more importantly, they still had first to find these formidable demons. At this point, they were already left without other choices, because they did not have any contribution points left to examine different missions. A demon hunt squad with 0 contribution points was born. The 7 members of the newly born 21st General Grade Demon Hunt Squad looked at each other in dismay, and in the end, everyone made a firm resolution to go for it. If it really proved to be impossible, they would at worst abandon this mission. Anyway, giving up a mission wouldn't deduct any contribution points from their side. If the need arose, they would simply borrow some more contribution points to pick another mission. And more importantly, this was a joint mission with the 4th Soldier Grade Demon Hunt Squad. With 13 people participating in it, they really had their chances. In the end, Long Houchen returned once again to the front of that counter displaying the exploration missions, escorted by his companions. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.